There are little lies.
I don't think this one's too bad.
Yeah, it's fabulous.
Really?
Yeah.
And there are big lies.
We know he's got chemical weapons. He's got them. He's got them. He's got them.
But we are here to speak the truth.
I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
But before we shed a little light on the truth, make sure to subscribe to our channel by clicking the subscribe button and the notification bell to stay up to date with our videos. And also, check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. ProShot presents basketball's biggest shooting lies. Lie number 1, square up. Whether you are talking about squaring the feet, squaring the shoulders, or squaring the hips is all irrelevant. Truth is truth, even if no one believes it. And a lie is a lie, even if everyone believes it. And being square to shoot a basketball is not good for today's one-handed shooters. Like many of the best shooters, Stephen Curry has been shooting almost his entire life. Many would say Curry is the greatest shooter of all time. But even Steph once believed this lie.
You should have your 10 toes facing squared up to the rim. The consistent thing across the board with all great shooters is those 10 toes facing in the same direction. Your hips and your chest are going to follow that same pattern.
But when you say one thing and do the other, it should raise a lot of questions. Steph turns his feet, his hips, and his shoulders to shoot. So why do we so often hear that you should square up? Well, let's take a look at the origins of squaring up. The two-handed set shot was how basketball players shot in the early 1900s well into the 1950s. Back then, the game was a much different game with different rules than we know today. In the 1920s, there were a few players that came along and were shooting an unorthodox one-handed shot. Soon after came the jump shot. The two-handed shot stuck around until the 1950s due to coaches' resistance to change. As coaches slowly adapted and changed their philosophy and beliefs, something unfortunate happened. They started promoting a one-handed shot, but they kept their old terminology. So much so, it pollutes our teaching of today's more efficient modern techniques. Like beef, a shooting acronym created by former NBA standout George Lehman.
As a right-hand shooter, I have one foot in front of the other. We refer to this as the boxer or staggered stance. You'll notice my feet are not too wide or too close. I'm on balance at all time, one foot in front of the other. A right-hand shooter will lead with his right foot. A left-hand shooter will lead with his left foot to maintain proper balance.
There is nothing about squaring up in beef. Even the first book ever published on shooting in 1965 by NBA standout Bill Sharman shows a turn, not square. If you dare to square, your shooting will suffer just like some of the worst free throw shooters of all time. Keeping the feet parallel and equal distance to the basket will force the hips and the shoulders to square. It also results in a very unnatural, uncomfortable, and unsuccessful shot. Unless, of course, you want to shoot a two-handed shot or Rick Barry's infamous two-handed underhand free throw. Let's just look at some of the greatest shooters, and you will see how they turn to open their shoulders. Number 1 free throw shooter of all time, Elena Delle Donne, a career 93.8% free throw shooter. Number 3 all time, Steve Nash. Number 4 all time, Mark Price. Number 5 all time, Peja Stojakovic. Number 6 all time, Chauncey Billups. And now, let's go back to number 2 all time, Stephen Curry. Remember how he told us to square up?
Wait for it. Keep waiting.
I usually have my feet about 10 to 15 degrees pointed to the left.
Let's stop believing the lies, and let's learn to listen with our eyes.
Squaring up is squaring your feet, your shoulders, your hips, and your elbow to the basket. It's always easier to make the basket that way.
The best youth, high school, college, and pro shooters use a turn in the shoulders, hips, and feet to become successful shooters.